Good morning, I'm Tricia Baer from the Guardians of Service, and we're talking to Don Cotton this morning from Henrietta. He's a World War II veteran who served from 1942 to 1945. Good morning, Don.
Good morning, Pat.
Thank you for joining us today. We wanted to get some information from Don about his World War II experience and his life. He is actually 103 years old. He still drives, still grocery shops, still walks just fine. So, where were you raised when you were a child, Don?
Around Purcell, Oklahoma, and Pauls Valley. It was about 15, 20 miles apart in central Oklahoma.
Okay, you said that was...
It's right south of Oklahoma City, about 35 miles.
Okay. And then what was your favorite childhood memory?
A large, happy family was my, actually was one of the things I'm the proudest of.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
There was 9 children. There's 5 girls and 4 boys.
9 children total. Wow.
Yes.
Where did you go to high school, and did you attend college?
I went to high school at an independent rural high school called Whitebead, and it was about 3.5 miles out of Pauls Valley, northeast. Okay. And I graduated from high school in '42.
And did you go to college?
And then from there, I went to Cushing to an NYA government school. It was a program that taught radio and communications, and it was like a 6-month school. And they had the first 3 months at Cushing, and the last 3 months was at Tonkawa, Oklahoma. And I graduated from Cushing and went to Tonkawa and was there until a recruiter from Vance Air Force Base came in and was looking for Air Force enlistees, and so I signed up for the Air Force and joined there and had to go to Oklahoma City for my exam and to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for my boot. And from there I came back to Advance and took my basics. And from there to Lubbock, Texas was my first assignment.
Okay. What was your job specialty in the military?
To start with, I was a clerk typist, and from there I was a little of everything. From there we went to Garden City, Kansas, and I was the first thing in Garden City. I joined the Quartermaster Corps, the transportation, and became a truck driver. And then from that I became a dispatcher, and I did guard duty. And from there I went down to Biloxi, Mississippi, applied for the cadets, and I failed on account of my eyes. So they gave me a choice to go back into administrative typing and clerical work, and I told them I'd rather go to a gunnery school. So the next day they assigned me to gunnery school at Las Vegas, Nevada, and from there I graduated and went to Lincoln, Nebraska for a short time, and then to Sioux City, Iowa, where I did my secondary flying, and then from there I went overseas.
Okay. So you were a B-12 bomber? A gunner?
I was an aero gunner on a B-17 heavy bomber with a second bomb group, which I understood was the oldest bomb group that this country had. in Italy, Foggia, Italy, and I was with the 15th Air Force, the 20th Bomb Squadron, and I flew the 35 missions that was required.
Yeah. And back then they could only fly 35 missions.
Only-
That's all they would allow.
Yes,
So he flew
Yeah,
35
at
missions.
that time, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us about your experience in World War II?
Well, we had a lot of, it wasn't easy, but we had some good, we had one of the best crews. I couldn't ask for a better crew. And there was 10 on our crew. And we all went through without injury to any of us. Our plane was damaged on several instances. And the closest it got, I guess, probably was to me. I was the waist gunner, and we had a piece of flak that came through and hit the ammo box on the left gunner, left waist gunner, and came through and hit my ammo belt and cut 2 50 caliber machine gun shells into and went out the side of the fuselage, and the powder exploded in my face and cut my heated card, and we was flying something over to 20,000. So the pilot says, as soon as we can get where we can come down, because that's the only heat we had was electrical heat, because it's open in those planes. And so we made it fine, and then we had an incident that happened in training at Sioux City, Iowa. We had a mid-air collision at 21,000. And I know we lost a lot of airmen in training, but with other places. One of the persons that I graduated from high school with was killed in an accident down at Camp Camel down in Kentucky. But we all made it home, and we made it. We dropped 10,000 feet when we had the mid-air collision, and the pilot was able to restore command, and so we landed okay. But we was lined up and ready to bail out. And then one other incident in combat was we had our number 4 engine caught fire, a runaway prop, they called it, and we was over the Adriatic, and we lined up to bail out into the water, and we were able to struggle into a fighter pilot's location just beyond the front line in Italy, and he landed the plane, and we spent the night there. And to the life of me, I don't remember what the name of the place was, but we spent the night there, and they repaired the engine, and we flew back home.
Flew back home. All right. And so you're 103 years old. What are the things that you do or you think help contribute to you being 103 years old, still driving around, still walking just fine?
Well, it looks like I'm walking just fine, Pat, but it's a struggle every step I take anymore. But that's my only problem that I can have, other than, coping with my old age. I'm like everybody else. I have my aches and pains, but I feel blessed.
That's awesome. And you said you moved to Henrietta because that's where your wife was from?
Yes, that's where she was from, yeah.
Okay. And then what are the accomplishments in life that you're most proud of?
What's that?
What are the accomplishments that you've had so far in life that you're most proud of?
I guess getting back home safely without injury. And we need to, I would be amiss if I didn't mention the Tuskegee escorts. In all of our missions, the Tuskegee Air Force, which was a black group, the only one that this country's ever had, was covering us in every mission. And we couldn't have had a better group to take care of us. And of course, we also give credit to our Almighty God, because before each mission, without exception, we had prayer. And all of us got back without any injuries, and I feel that that was part of the results of it.
Okay. And it's called the Tuskegee group?
Tuskegee.
Tuskegee.
And they were from Alabama.
Okay. And so they flew behind you?
They were our escort.
Okay.
They were flying P-51s and P-38s.
In front of you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And they were really good. And they never did get the credit, I don't think, that they deserved.
And you said you've been married to Jean how long?
I've been married to Jean for 34 years, and I was married before that for 38.
38, wow. And what is your advice to having a long marriage?
Being able to communicate with each other and respecting each other's feelings, and giving your wife the last word.
She's got you trained.
We've never had an argument that I know of any kind in 34 years.
Wow. That's how me and my husband are. We might disagree about, maybe I feed the dogs more than he would, but we don't argue. That's just the way it is. When I feed them more than you do. That's it.
Yeah.
So, what'd you say your civilian job was?
My civilian?
Yeah.
I started out with the Texas Pipeline Company, and I worked with them for 7 years, and then that was a subsidiary of the Texas Company, and then I transferred to the Texas Company, which became later on Texaco Incorporated, and I worked with them the rest of the time that I was 33 years in total. And I started out as a warehouseman clerk, and I wound up, I went with pipeline to division. I worked division with the pipeline, and then I transferred, like I say, to the producing department, and I wound up with the division with the producing department in Fort Worth, Texas. And from there I went to Snyder to another district office, and then from Snyder to Pampa, Texas, and there I became senior clerk, and I was handling payroll, well, everything. I handled payroll, personnel work, and all the requirements that the employees required, and I was office manager and with production, payroll, and everything. So when I retired.
Okay. If you haven't already noticed, in our background is a picture of Don Cotton. Were you, 17 years old or 18 years old in that picture?
No, I was probably about 20.
20 years old in that picture. And there's
21.
There's his B-17 bomber in the background, running 35 missions. And how many kids did you say you had?
I had 2 boys, Gary and David, and I lost David a little over 2 years ago.
What was it like during the Great Depression?
You know, Pat, we lived out in a rural area, and I can't remember too much about it other than we didn't have any problems as far as I know. We were very poor. In fact, some of them says, I had a preacher to say that he came from a family of 11, and he was from Mississippi, and he said that they used, they were so poor they used possums for house cats.
Really? That was their pets in the house?
But we wasn't that poor, but we were so poor that the flies had to bring their own food when they come to see us. But no, we didn't, I don't remember too much about it other than we didn't have any problems as far as living and eating. We made most of our own food, raised most of our own food, and of course we didn't have refrigeration, we didn't have electricity, or no running water. It was pretty crude, but it was we was really a big, happy family.
And where was that at? You said when you were little, when you were a kid?
That was Purcell.
Purcell.
Yep.
Okay. What has been the most difficult challenge in your life so far?
Old age.
Trying to manage the aches and pains?
I'd say that was the main thing, but I'm thankful that I'm able to cope with the things that I come up against.
Okay. What do you like about living in Henrietta, Oklahoma?
I think it's one of the most friendly places that I've been. I think Oklahoma is a friendly state, and I think it's a good place to live, especially in this part of the country.
Yeah, I agree. I moved here in 2014, and I really like Henrietta. I like the community atmosphere. Everyone's always helping everyone else, so I really, truly like Henrietta. What organizations are you a member of? I know you're a member of our post, VFW Post 539.
Yeah, and I'm a DAV, and I'm a Master Mason. I will be 50 years next year, 26. And I don't belong to anything else that I know of. It's significant, so.
And then where did you say you were a Master Mason from? What
I'm
town
a
was
Master
that?
Mason from Pampa, Texas Lodge. And Pampa, Texas is in the panhandle of Texas.
Okay.
So that's where I wound up my duty with the company.
Right. Compared to when you were a kid, how has the world changed?
Drastically. It hasn't changed for the better that I can see. I wish I could say differently, but it's made a terrible change. And there's so many things that we went through that we don't even have. I mean, we accept it now as a natural thing, like electricity and telephone and television and all kind of technology has brought forth so much stuff that we didn't have. Everything we had was crude. You had, the only thing we had for heat was wood. Some places had coal. The schools had coal, most of them, but the farmers, they just had wood, and finally kerosene come along, and we had the kerosene lamps, and then of course some had Delco battery operated electricity, but that was the lucky one.
Okay.
And electricity around Pauls Valley and in the rural area did not, they didn't install it until probably 46 and 47. And rural water came in later, and everybody has that convenience now, but we didn't have anything like that.
Wow.
No refrigeration. And I guess looking at it back now, it looked like it was tough, but we didn't have anything else to compare it with.
Right.
So we accepted it and enjoyed it.
What did you all do as kids? Like, if you didn't have TV to watch, what did you all do when you were kids? Like, what do you?
Well, we didn't stay in the house.
Yeah.
We was out doing something on. Everybody worked.
At the farm?
And during, we raised a lot of cotton and corn and feed stuff, and the schools, rural schools, are let out for 2 weeks for harvesting your crops during the fall. So everybody worked, and we had our own cattle and cows that we milked. We had our own food products, like milk, and raised our own chickens and eggs and owned hogs. You couldn't raise beef. You didn't have any way to process it other than can it. And and my mother, we had a separator, and we'd separate the milk and sell the cream and the eggs to buy other staples. So that's the way we lived, but we wasn't the only one lived that way. Everybody lived that way. That in the rural country at that time.
Yeah. So you didn't have running water. So how did you all take a bath?
In a in a tub.
Tub with hot water, or was it cold?
We'd heat our water.
Yeah, heat it and then
wood.
take a bath.
Yeah.
Huh.
And we cooked with wood and heated with wood. That's the only thing we had.
Was wood. What experiences had the most impact on you during your service in the military?
Well, I think our crew, there's so much hate and conflict in this day and time. We didn't have that. Our crew, there was 3 Jews on my crew. I didn't even know what anti-Semitism was at that time. I'd never heard of it. And that's all you can hear of now. And it's real odd. Our family was as close as a biological family. We depended on each other. We didn't have any quarrels. We loved each other. And in fact, just before one of those Jewish guys died, who was our navigator, one of the officers, he called me and he says, "Don," he says, "did you ever realize that there's 3 Jews on your crew?" I says, "Yes, I did." But that never was mentioned. We lived together in a tent, by the way, in Italy, and near a olive orchard. And we had to walk a ways for our showers, and the food wasn't what you desire. Most of us dehydrated or sea rations. But we made out okay. And I don't know of anything else I could tell you other than we were just a big happy family, and we loved each other. And I missed them, and I'm the only one that's left. The last one was 94, and he passed a couple of years ago.
And then what'd you say the name of your unit was during the wartime, during the war?
Was what?
Was this your unit during the wartime, the 20th Bomb Squadron?
Yes, yes,
5th Air Force.
yeah.
Okay.
And we went, when we flew over, we took a new plane and we flew from Granite Field, New Hampshire to Newfoundland, spent the night. From there to the next day to Iceland and spent the night, and flew on over to Valley, Wales, and as in England, and they took us by train to London, and we were stationed with the 8th Air Force for about a month. And then they had too many crews. So every other crew they shipped them out to the 15th Air Force, was located down in Texas, or down in Italy, where they said where I went. And Foggia is in the heel of Italy, near the Adriatic Sea. So that's where I went, and I did go to rest camp one time at Christmas time to the Isle of Capri, and that was a thrill. But anyway, when I came home, they asked me how I wanted to come, flying back or on the boat. So I said, I'll take the boat. I flew over, and I made a mistake. I got sick, and they put me in the hospital, nasopharyngeal laryngitis, and I missed my boat, which was the Queen Mary. And I came back on a battleship, retired battleship, and that wasn't the best in the world. And we run out of food, had pickled beets for breakfast.
Oh, wow.
That's not too good. So, but anyway, we got back to New Jersey. I can't remember the name of in New Jersey.
And what was your highest rank in the military, and how many years did you serve in the military?
I served just like 2 months, being 3 years.
And then you said you were what rank?
I was staff sergeant when I was retired, or when I was discharged from in '45, and then I joined the reserves for 3 years, and I became sergeant major, and I gained one more rank to tech sergeant, and then I chose to not further my reserve training because I'd have too far to go for my reserve training, and my children were small, so I chose to take a discharge, and I was up for master sergeant when I left.
Do you still have any letters that you wrote home from the military?
Do I have what now?
Yeah. Do you still have any letters saved from when you wrote home
No.
for the military?
No.
All right. And then, do you remember the day that Pearl Harbor was attacked?
Yes, I do.
What was that like? What do you remember from that?
Well, I didn't think too much of it till about 9 months later, and I was in the service. So, but I didn't realize when it happened. I knew it was terrible, and I did just read the other day where the first B-17 that was shot down was heading for Pearl Harbor when the Japanese shot it down. That's the first loss that they had in the B-17. But we knew that there's a war going on, and everybody, of course, it was one of those times that everybody was affected, and nobody wasn't willing to do their part during World War II. But anyway, I didn't realize in 9 months I'd be enlisting in the service. But I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I chose the Air Force, and I don't regret anything I've I've done, and I feel like that the results of that war has been beneficial to the world.
And then what motivated you to enlist in the Air Force?
I was 20.
20 years old?
Yeah.
And why did you choose the Air Force? Of all the branches, why did you choose the Air Force?
Well, I started out from Vance Air Force base after my boot training to Lubbock, Texas, to the general office as a clerk typist, and then from there to Garden City, Kansas, and Air Force Base, and there I was a truck driver with the Quartermaster Corps, and also a dispatcher. And then I go back to the Air Force and apply for cadets, and they sent me to Biloxi, Mississippi. I've already told all that, but sent me to Biloxi, and I failed my test on my eyes. So me and one other guy, and he failed on his, he was colorblind, and he failed, but he wound up spending the rest of his life as a he's eye doctor, optometrist. And but then from there I went to Las Vegas, and by the way, Las Vegas wasn't big as anything at that time. And I took my training there, and then my secondary training I went to. Of course, I've told all this, but I went back. I wound up at Sioux City, Iowa, and from there I joined a crew that was already half prepared. They'd already trained for half the time that they were supposed to, 6 months or 6, yeah. And so I only trained with them for 3 months. They replaced me with another guy. And I guess the reason was that they transferred me, and I took a couple of guys. I got a corporal's rating and never did get PFC. But anyway, I took some guys from Lincoln, Nebraska to Sioux City, Iowa, and the first thing they wanted to do is put me on KP. And I'd been on KP down at Lincoln while I was waiting.
Yeah.
After graduating from school. So I told him, no, I didn't think I wanted to do that. And he says, you're going to have to talk to your commander. I said, okay. So I goes in and talks to the commander, and he says, I understand you refused to work. And I says, well, they sent me to gunnery school to become a gunner, and I feel like that's what I should do. And he says, can you type? And I said, yes, sir. And I had already had a grade in typing, and so he says, sit down over at that typewriter, and he gave me something to type. The next day I was assigned to the crew, and that's where it started.
That's where you ended up doing clerical work.
And I couldn't have had a better crew. I was just so thankful that the good Lord provided me with those things.
What do you remember about your first days in the military and boot camp? What was that like?
Yes, I do. Of course, I got the shots, but they took me out to boot camp, and this drill sergeant, they gave me shoes that was way too big, and I was trying to do about face, and he was cussing me. And they did that then.
Yeah.
I mean, but I can remember that real well. And I was just thankful that I got out of that place and went to Vance, which when I enlisted, this recruiter made a statement that we'll guarantee you that you'll take your boot camp advance, and which I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's, yes, that drill sergeant was something else.
So was your boot camp 6 weeks long then, or was it different?
No, it was about 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah, it was the same as anywhere else. It was just, I think probably wasn't as, well, I don't know, it might have been as rough. But then I wound up taking a class through gunner school, and then I became a drill sergeant for them.
Really? Cool.
So I had a wide area of experience, but I don't regret anything.
I went to a Marine Corps boot camp, and it was 3 months long, and the Navy boot camp is also 3 months long, but the Air Force is 6 weeks. So for some reason the Marines and the Navy is 3 months long on their boot camp. So
Yeah. But you know, some of the things that we had to do, I went on bivouac down at Biloxi, Mississippi, and it was storming that night. That I can remember very well. We had pup tents.
did you stay in tents? Did you know now they
got wet, but
now they actually stay in hotels? The Air Guard now, not the Army and Marines. We sleep in fighting holes, but the Air Force stays in hotels, is what my husband tells me, because he was in the Air National Guard out of Fort Smith.
yeah.
And so I'm like, you guys had it way better than we did. We slept in 2-man hooches, and I'd put a black hose around it because the snakes don't like black snakes. So that kept all the snakes out of my hooch. And then we dug a little trench around our 2-man hooch, so if it rained, the water would go in the trench.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I did a little of everything while you was waiting for your orders. I set pins in a bowling alley, and let's see, what else did I do? Well, I don't recall now, but of course worked KP, and one of the questions you asked, Pat, was the food okay? Well, it was okay, but it's all dehydrated. We did have a good baker. We got good bread, but we keep our sea rations, and we improvised our stove. We didn't have any heat. We had electricity, but no heat. Mm-hmm. You didn't have electric stoves or anything like that. So we called it improvising, but actually it's downright stealing. Get the gasoline that we got from the fuel of the planes, and that was dangerous. But we'd toast the bread and stuff on had a steel drum, small one, that we used for the stove, and had pipes going up. But and the cots, we had cots, and they gave us mattress covers, and we was in a field of wheat that had been wheat. And of course this is a kind of a mild climate down there at Foggia. And I went out and got straws and filled my mattress cover with straws, and I slept very comfortably on those all the time I was there.
Yeah, on the wheat.
And and guard duty, I had guard duty, and well, I had it all. So at one time or other, short-lived most of it, but that's about the only thing I can say.
Okay. And then what do you remember about the other soldiers and sailors in your unit? You talked about the group that was in front of you, the advanced group. that kind of escorted you?
We didn't, I didn't know any of the others hardly, because our crews all flew together most of the time.
Okay.
But in training in Sioux City, we had one case, and this is the saddest thing that ever happened to me, is one of the guys that I got acquainted with from Texas. He was from Clyde, Texas, and he went through gunner school the same time, and we went up to Sioux City, and he was his barrack. They had the beds, had bunk beds, and the crew next to him was in a mid-air collision and killed all of them. And I went over to talk to him, and he was crying, and he knew him real well, and he was wanting to quit. He says, I don't want to fly anymore. Said, we lost all of them. And I says, yeah, but and I'd had a mid-air collision. And I says, yeah, but that'll happen in training. We were flying too close. It was a close order formation. And we were flying lead, and the right hand, the plane on our wing, the right wing, went into us and knocked 6 foot of our aileron off. But anyway, make a long story short, I talked him into staying in there, and the very next day, he went up, and his crew all of them were lost. He said that he came from the fuselage up to the nose section, visiting with a bombardier and navigator, and he took his parachute with him. And they was kidding him about bringing his parachute up there at the front with him. And he said he looked up, and he said he sees this plane coming down on top of it. And he said he grabbed that parachute, and they was hollering, bail out, bail out. And he was trying to hook the parachute on his chest chute. He got one side on there, and somehow, he was thrown out of that plane, and he landed in a cornfield, and he was the only one survived. Wow. And I do remember that the morgue said they had 81 in the morgue at the same time from air crashes. But anyway, he said this farmer came up and asked him, says, what are you going to do? And he said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, as I was falling down, I thought, what'll I do? And he finally thought, well, you got to pull the ripcord. So he did that, and it opened up, and he hit the ground. But he said that he would never fly again, and he had to go before the commander of the field, and they grounded him. And that, I don't know what happened to him after that. But anyway, that was an incident that I'd never forget.
And were there other casualties in your unit?
No casualties.
And we talked earlier about you were awarded several medals or citations. A few of them are the European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign, 1 Silver Star, 2 Bronze Stars, sorry, and then the Air Medal, Bronze Oak Leaf Cluster, and the Good Conduct Medal. What did you get some of those awards for?
They just came with the job, most of them. I do have our certificate of valor that was issued by and signed by a lieutenant general. That was sent to me, and up to this day, I don't know why, but it was sent to me 5 years after I got out of the service.
Oh, wow.
And none of the rest of the crew received one, but it was framed with the 12th and 15th Mediterranean Air Force Certificate of Valor, and but to this day I don't know what it. I've got it hanging in my bedroom, and it was signed personally by a Lieutenant General Cannon.
General Cannon. When you were in the war, did they let you come home during that wartime?
No. Well, I was overseas. I couldn't. No, I didn't come home till I finished.
Yeah. How long were you deployed to the war zone?
Oh, about 6 months.
6 months. I went to Baghdad, Iraq in 2008, and they do let the veterans or the soldiers come home for 2 weeks to get rest and relaxation, and they fly us from overseas to wherever we're from.
Well, when I came home, I got 30 days
Of leave.
after I came home.
Yeah, vacation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they sent me to rest camp in Santa Ana, California. And then they interrogated me and sent me back to Camp Chaffee in Fort Smith and released me.
Okay. And I was actually stationed at Fort Chaffee, is what they call
Yeah.
it now, for 17 years in the Army National Guard on active duty. Were you ever a prisoner of war?
No.
All right. And then what advice would you give about life to help future generations?
Well, love and respect. We've lost respect. That's one word that is very important. We've lost respect for each other, and the Bible tells us that love your neighbor as yourself, God first. And so we need to train our sights on a higher authority instead of hate and division like we have today. That's about all I have to say.
Okay. And then did I already ask you about what advice do you give anyone really about living to 103 years old?
The only thing that I can say is my DNA, and I've done the same thing that probably everybody else has. I tried to live a good life, and I've never held a grudge, regardless what happened, and I don't have any, actually. I can't put my finger on anything that would answer your question about 103. And I never thought anything about it till before, when I got to 100, everybody started to say, hey. And then I got to thinking, well, who do I know that's 100? I didn't know anybody either. Nobody in my family that I never know of is on my cotton side has lived that long. Now on my mother's side, she had some that lived to be 104, 5, and 6. But I can't answer that question. Other than it's the good Lord that takes care of us.
The good Lord is definitely on Don Cotton's side.
Yeah.
He's still here today. He's on my side.
He's blessed us.
So we want to thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate that, because we get an insight from a World War II veteran who's a legend. There's not that many World War II veterans left, are there?
No, there's not.
Yeah. So he's a legend.
So I feel real blessed. And thank you for the interview, Pat. It's been great.
All right. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining the Guardians of Service. Have a good day.
Thank you.